Tubing bender here, we've had a couple of hiccups with.
Yeah, you exploded it yesterday.
Yeah.
Right now I'm working on version 2 of the taillight pieces here.
Most difficult thing is getting the body exactly where we want it, because that dictates everything else on the car.
Honestly, you guys, this project is basically all the students. I really can't take much credit for it, and I'm super proud of them and what they're doing. What's up, people, and welcome back to Genius Garage for the Fast and Furious Live Lykan Hypersport build. For all the new people coming out to see, Genius Garage is a 501c3 public educational charity for collegiate level engineers and mechanics and stuff to kickstart their careers. So obviously we're going back on with the Lykan, but there's a lot of cool things happening at Genius Garage. Right now, the two Camerons are hardcore preparing our IMSA Racing Corvette. That's pretty cool. They're just going over some things regarding the fluids and priming things and doing rebuilding the steering rack. They love both motorsports engineering and being motorsports tech, so it's a great opportunity while they got a little extra time on the Lykan. But the Hypersport here is really going fantastically. As you can see, we have our test wheels on here with fresh rubber, very similar to the original Lykan Hypersport wheels, with the exception on these being that they have the 5-lug pattern that would be the 5x130 typical to Porsche. So similar look, but we chose to go this way with and not go the direction of the center lock. Center lock wheels are typically for hardcore racing environments where you do fast pit stop changes. But since this is primarily a high-performance street car and track car second duty, we decided to go this direction. It makes a lot of sense, but really excited about where that's going. So currently, the car is sitting on what is 50% finished of its chassis structure, or the steel pan. Now, it has not yet been set up for the final ride height or corner weighted or anything like that, because the first and foremost, most important thing is in regard to hanging this composite bodywork on it and integrating that with the structure of the roof structure to the chassis and the roll, also all of the door sills and the nature of the complex hinges to come for the doors, since they both swing out and up. So it's sort of like a reverse McLaren in some ways that way. But regarding the stages here, the composite rocker panels here, which are very nice because we can integrate these into the steel chassis pan, as we're calling it. And so this is temporarily bolted to the center section and the door jambs of the car. So all this is basically resting in place, some racer tape holding things so we can see that. And what's going on is Tyler over here is starting to hand bend some tubing, whether that's for testing or the final structure of it. If you guys recall, we have the structural Porsche tubing that comes out of the center of the original A-pillars of the car. And that fits very nicely here. So we're going to be tapping into that and integrating it for a beautifully bent curvature of the tubing here for the roof structure. Obviously, there's going to be some others to triangulate it and whatnot. But, Tyler, so this has been kind of a crazy journey. What are you doing with this tubing bending? What's going well and what's going badly?
So we've started the first bends for the roll cage, and they've gone incredibly well. We've got our tubing bender here. We've had a couple of hiccups with.
Yeah, you exploded it yesterday.
Yeah, the bottle jack, you can see it's over here.
Here, get it.
I kind of exploded the housing off of the bottle jack when making a bend, so we had like 2 gallons of
it wasn't
jack
2
oil.
gallons. But no, this was a cheaper bottle jack, lighter duty. The framework of the bender that we had here, just for using it by hand, is great. We had to do some love to it.
Yeah, we had to fix the tolerances. A couple of things needed to be filed out, but other than that, everything fit great, and it has done a very good job so far. So we upgraded the bottle jack with just a little bit, one that has a little bit more meat to it, and we upgraded a couple of the pins with some
high-strength pins and such.
High-strength pins.
It seems like that's all going really well.
Yeah, and it's been going great. We did the first couple of bends, and they all worked awesome.
Okay, well, why don't you show that to us here? This is not in its final place. This is just sort of the rough getting go. But what do you got going on here? What's going on?
So in the center of the car, we're going to have the first hoop structure here, which we're
kind of like the main rollover hoop to start.
Yes, the main rollover hoop is what we're starting with, and that allows us to hang the body on something, and it allows us to get all of our final tolerances for where we want the body to actually fit on the car. and it allows us to start working out our mounting points for the body and figuring out where everything else goes. And like Casey was saying earlier, with the main roll hoops that come up and follow the body line, those are going to integrate into the center roll cage, and everything's going to be tied together all nicely and triangulated.
Yeah, for sure. And in the inner layer of the composite structure of the Lykan Hypersport, you can see where the places were from the factory to mount it.
Yes.
So you're going to be picking up those same points on the structure of the tubing into the roof.
Correct. We've got our nice sheet metal brake that we're going to be using.
Can you see where this tubing initially is right here going across? That's lower than where it's going to end up, but this is just the start to get it in place by hand. And the most important part is figuring out what nodes you pick up on the tubes.
Correct.
So are you going to high points? Do you have to strengthen certain areas? And the rollover, the lateral one here on the lateral plane, that's kind of like the first one that has to happen.
Yes.
Because it's the most important part. And then everything else is basically just connecting the dots in an intelligent way.
And making sure that everything stays triangulated and strong.
For sure. Okay. Well, what's your next step? You're basically getting that fitted and finalized where it is, and then from there, it's having the body on and just doing all the delicate handwork and precision welding and stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. You think that so this is a longer and more arduous process than it was we thought. We were hoping to actually have a lot of that done this week.
Yeah.
What was the biggest holdup with regard to a project like this?
The biggest, most difficult thing is getting the body exactly where we want it, because that dictates everything else on the car. So currently we're building the structure and everything has to be exactly perfect. So messing with the body and getting all the panels fitting just like we wanted to, exactly in the right spot, it took a lot longer than we thought it was going to.
And unfortunately, this body's been fired out of an air cannon from a third story height.
Twice, I think.
Yeah, that didn't help it. No, you're right, because, and you had a really good eye. If we go up here, so the center section has to be done first. But in doing that, it was really important for us. One, we put the car on the ground so the wheels would be where they're at. So we know we can center the wheel wells. But you also have the front nose here that has to be in the right place in comparison to that, so that the hood will fit properly and its gaps will line up right.
Correct.
So when we first did that, it was really close, but there was a funny gap going on here. What was that all about?
Correct. So when we first put the body on, we were originally trying to match the sills up to the existing sills down here. However, there was a little bit of discrepancy, so what I had to do
actually, this will go up and in.
That actually has to go up and in.
That got squished out from the roll bar. But I'm sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of discrepancy on the sills here, and in addition to that, where the center sill piece here, the decorative piece, met the main frame part, there was actually a lot of contacting there. So I had to cut that away and weld on a new section in order to make it fit flush.
Yeah, you actually had to engineer a relief
Yes.
in the side of the chassis
Yes.
right there for that.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. But so you found on this actually had to be raised up something like only 1/8 of an inch.
Yes.
Which by doing that and by nature ended up clearing up a gap here and there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So that just goes to show how important this stage of the game is and why it's time consuming, because a lot of this was glued together and screwed together very quickly for the nature of being the stunt car.
Right.
Which is what you'd expect, but not helpful when you're trying to take that nice bodywork and all and make a hypercar out of it. All right, well, go ahead and carry on. I'm going to find... So there's Dan. What was he doing? Should we go get him?
You want to go talk to him with the Morgan over there?
He's Dan, he's already going on the Morgan. He's too excited. Look at him. He's already working on it. Should I just come back to you for the next video on will it start? Yeah. Okay, Dan, he's on the Morgan. Let him go. They're doing great. They're doing great. Okay, so tell you what, let's go find Ryan, the FNG. He's working on the taillights, right? Wait, you're back. You're here. What do you got going on you want to talk about, or do we cover it?
We haven't covered it yet. So I'm like doing the door hinges and the front hood hinges.
Oh yeah, that's a really good thing to bring up. Yeah. So, without telling our cool secrets, that just what direction are you going with the doors? Why are they so hard?
Okay, so the doors are pretty difficult because it's a suicide style vertical door.
Yes.
So it swings out and then up, almost like flat.
It kind of does it in one fell swoop, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're hoping that we can have it open just like a Lykan door, but if not, there are lots of aftermarket options available.
For like, you're hoping to learn from the people who have actually made like Lambo door kits.
Right.
And that kind of gets you into the ballpark. And that sounds crazy. Yep. Like you're not going to be able to just throw one of those on there backwards.
It would have to be modified a lot.
But it's helpful to use something that's already been done.
Yes.
which I have to bring up. Actually, last week I had a really nice conversation with two of the guys at W Motors on Zoom. One the head of engineering and the other the client relations manager. And they're very nice about this in speaking about it and being helpful with some technical wisdom, helping us along, which I do want to bring out a bigger topic that I think is worthy of bringing. For all of you that are catching this right now and realizing we started with a Porsche Boxster, the original Lykan Hypersports is by no means a rebodied Porsche. I mean, first of all, it's a very sophisticated car, unbelievable carbon fiber paneling, working the aerodynamics, everything going on. While it did have a flat six twin turbo engine, the only thing really from Porsche on that engine anymore, by the time they're done with it, was the block.
Exactly.
And even the transaxle and everything were different. The Hypersport did largely use, from the front bulkhead forward, of effectively what was the 911s and the Boxsters from the late 2000s. But that's really where it ended. So that's the reason why we're using a lot of Porsche mechanicals in developing this. And I look forward to connect you guys with the people at W Motors. Yeah. This car, we're somewhat taking in our own direction a little bit.
Right.
Because the original Hypersports, they made what, 6 or 7?
I think it was 7, yeah.
And they're making none others,
right?
And then they evolved into making the Fenrir Hypersport and other things for the future. And the guys at W Motors, the engineer and whatnot, was very nice. And he was saying, basically, this is your opportunity to develop your own car.
Yeah.
And while there'll be some differences, we really want it to be a fantastic track car and street car, but obviously built to high quality. I totally shanghaied your talk. So what's going on with the hinges on the hood here?
So on the Lykan Hypersport, the hood is hinged from the front, which kind of gives you some interesting constraints because you don't want to hit the bumper as it opens, and you have to make sure that it's actually supported because that's a lot of kind of flexing just right in this small front area.
Oh yeah.
We've been looking at some 2-link hood hinges, which were actually used on the stock Porsche Boxster trunk, which actually lifts the hood up as it swings open.
Right, and the ones on the stock Porsche Boxster trunk were rather small. We're going to have to do something bigger.
So I've been mocking up some in SolidWorks that we can make out of plate steel.
Yes.
Will do the same thing and work really well.
And we do have a lot of the inner panel of the hood as well, where it will mate up to the weather stripping. But the trouble with that though is that got hammered when the thing was wrecked.
Yes, it did. It's splintered and looks pretty bad right now, but I'm sure that we can fix it.
Okay. Yeah, well, certainly. Yeah. Okay, so your next step as the center section gets in place, what were you saying about taping the body panels so that you can get the fitment right?
Right.
Do you want to show it here?
Yeah, we can show here. So it's kind of good to gauge like how all the panels are like actually gonna have to come together. So what we've been doing is we've been starting to actually get things taped onto the body so that we can see how they're lining up, where they have to be notched, where they have to be clearanced or have material added. And so right now, the hood's actually gone a bit forward since I put the tape on.
Yeah, it's slid since we're working on the
But
it comes out and back.
Yep, it goes back a bit. And we were actually trying to line up the wheel wells up here and then see how the front bumper fit, how the hood fits, how these panels all fit together.
And we had to get these roughed in place to make certain that the center section is correct. So
Yep.
that's the big reason for that right now.
Which is also why we have the rockers actually hard mounted onto the body now, because those are pretty good for actually showing where things have to fit.
And the trouble is you guys can't do much finalizing work, strengthening, fitting, and restoration of these parts until that's finalized.
Until that's all on.
Okay, hence why you're working on the Morgan right now.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come back to that. All right, anything else you want to share?
Not really.
Okay, I'm gonna go find Ryan. He's doing taillights right now.
He has some good stuff.
Yeah. All right, you guys, so if you look here behind, this is the tail of the Hypersport. There are no tail lights, but there are receptacle area for them. So we've got to make some, and Ryan is a very smart young man who does model airplanes and some aerospace design. And since he came here, he's brought his own little 3D printer just to do some quick iterations and prototyping, and he's been doing foam mock-ups and all, and see what's going on. What's up, dude? Where are you at?
Right now I'm working on version 2 of the taillight pieces here. As you can see, I've 3D printed a few pieces already for version 1.
Here, hold those together. How do they go?
Yeah. I will.
You mean to hold one?
Yeah, if you hold that.
Okay, so here's something.
That's a centerpiece. This is the top section here.
Oh, wait. Here we go.
Yeah.
Is it this way?
It's this way. Yes. There we go.
We're really smart.
Yeah, and that's
okay, cool.
the base part of the tail light.
Okay, so this is just a quick mock-up. This is not something you're going to use.
No.
This is just to test 3D printing ability, and your 3D printer's small, hence why you made it in sections.
Yes, and
Okay.
I learned quite a bit that I actually need to make them a little bit smaller because there's a little bit of warping, but I've solved that for version 2.
So now this is the base, and maybe if you want to come around here, you can see the solid model he's working on. So this is just the beginning of you creating a base to then have something that can house LEDs and then ultimately a lens, right?
Yes.
Okay. What, based on what you have right here, what are your next steps?
My next steps are to actually cut this up essentially in the program here, which I've split it. And,
I see.
Yep, and then after that, just put it through to the slicer, put the pieces on there to prep it for 3D printing, 3D print the second one, bring it in, test fit it, and then see what else needs adjusted from there.
Okay, so you're going to make sure that you've got this right before you move on.
Yeah, once I get this right is when we can start working with the LEDs and the acrylic and everything to build the lens. Yeah.
So here's the next question. In the tail of the Lykan, it's not all at a bunch of 90 degrees. There's some like fascinating angles and curves.
Unfortunately, yes. I actually have a foam mock-up I made of the tail light, and there is not a single stinking 90-degree angle on this thing. There's so many complex curves, and it's just...
Yeah, you guys can see looking straight at it here like this. So this is the base, like where he's making the 3D printed part, and then you can see all the interesting angles that make it such a beautiful car, but make it tricky to make taillights. That's good, though.
Yeah.
So where did you learn to cut foam core like that and mock stuff up?
Actually, I've been doing that for quite a few years. I originally learned by making model airplanes.
Yes.
And that's mostly what I've been doing since 2013 as my hobby.
And then let's see the cardstock board there. That was the very first thing you made, right?
Yes, so this is version 3 of the very first thing I made.
Oh, okay.
But this was just getting the general shape of it, and then from this, I use foam board and some trimming to make this, and then off of this is where I started to make this first 3D printed mock-up here.
Right. So you're obviously a young guy, and you're savvy with the computer and 3D printing, but before you even started that, you started cutting out things like just using your hands and eyes. Why did you do that? Why didn't you just start in the computer?
It's nearly impossible actually starting the computer with something that is complex like this. It's
maybe without a laser scanner or something.
Yeah, if you had a scanner, yeah, it would be easy to just scan in a model and then design off of that, but we don't have that here, so we used our beautiful CAD before we used CAD.
Your eyes and your hands and your brain, right?
Yup.
Okay, so do you think there's still a place and a value in life for actually being able to do things with your hands?
Oh, 100%. I would not be able to make anything like this. Turned out pretty well for a first prototype, I believe anyways, and it would not have been possible without making this first piece out of cardboard.
Tell you what, why don't you grab your parts here and let's take it back in the garage and just show how they fit so people can see that part of the process.
Yeah.
Do you want me to take some of it?
Yeah, if you want to take the 3D printed bits, I'll grab the foam.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, bring that, and then bring the cardstock there too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, what type of plastic is used in your 3D printer?
Right now it's printing with PLA just because I think it's the simplest to print. It's just general all-around good thing to use.
And what kind of glue did you use when you're putting this together?
I just used some thin CA or super glue.
Okay. All right, here we are. So, you want to show them your foam and everything, how that went in, the steps?
Yeah, I mean, first thing was getting this to fit nicely in here. After we got that, I figured out there were some places I need to adjust, and being a pain for some reason. I think, all right, there we go. But yeah, first thing first was getting this to work, and then using that to make this foam model here, which then fits in here.
And that's probably a little taller than the tail lights, and there'll be some subtle differences, but it gets you in the ballpark, right?
Yeah, it gets me in the ballpark. This will help with making the acrylic pieces later on.
Here's this stuff.
Yep, and then with this, there was some things I learned, like I made this a little too long, so I took off some length. I also need to add a chamfer here to account for this angle, and I need to increase the chamfer I put on the back as well. But that's all going into V2, along with a few other small changes I made.
Very cool. And I imagine the bodywork is nicely symmetrical, so you can just mirror your models.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, if not minor tweaks here and there.
Okay, well, very good. All right, well, I don't want to keep you anymore, but you're doing a fantastic job, man.
Yeah, thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, You want to get more hands-on with this? Are you digging doing lights and stuff right now? Doing the...
I'm really happy with this, but today I just need to basically take the models home, print them, and then bring them back tomorrow so I can do more hands-on stuff today.
Oh, okay, cool. So are you going to do that in a minute? Go
Yeah.
home and get that started?
Yeah, I could go home, get a few started, and then probably come right back with more hands-on stuff.
Cool. All right, good job. Thanks, man. Do you want a hand carrying it back? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, anyway, guys, that is pretty much it relating to the Hypersport for this week. There's a whole lot of progress, and to be perfectly honest, I can't tell you how much right now I'm proud of the Genius Garage students. And the reason being is that I haven't been very hands-on with this project. You know, I've built a lot of cars in my past, done race cars, taught, and been hands-on with the students in the projects, but really, what I've been able to do here was create an environment and the opportunity and help get them together, and we schedule and make things happen, help facilitate it, and occasionally I'll come in and give my opinion. I'm waiting for somebody to make a comment. Yeah? Yeah. No? Anyway, they're being nice. So, with regard to something, or just help with a technique, or help somebody develop something like welding or cutting, or provide input. But honestly, you guys, this project is basically all the students. I really can't take much credit for it, and I'm super proud of them and what they're doing. Obviously, the Hypersport build is Genius Garage, the 501c3 public educational build this year. So for anybody else watching my channel, obviously I do some of my own cars, but this is a student build that I'm just happy to lead and make happen. I think it's fantastic. I appreciate the relationship with W Motors and how fantastic they've been with this. And obviously, if you guys don't already watch Ben Wiki and Ed Bolian's channel, check that out. It's going to be really good. But I'll see you guys next week for more with the Lykan. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and naturally that you will subscribe, but please click that bell so I can continue to bring you wholesome and entertaining automotive content. Also, a huge thanks to Avalon King ceramic coating. They're supporting this channel and making this all possible. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to using it on all of my vehicles, including my old dirt bike. Ceramic coating bonds directly to the surface of your paint, trim, and plastics to give a long-lasting shine that beats all waxes. It lasts for years and it's easy to maintain. I've got it on my Viper right now, and my car has never looked this good. So give them a try. Again, thanks for watching, and I look forward to see you next time.